Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Matt Rosenbaum.
How many of you have ever heard of Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire? Few, kind of a big deal, kind of changed the course of history, right? How about Alexander the Great and his empire? Again, you probably know who I'm talking about. He's going down as one of the greatest rulers and greatest conquerors in the history of the world, and perhaps the greatest general ever. But I'm here to talk to you about a man who made those two empires look like kids playing in a sandbox. I'm here today to talk to you about a man so powerful that he was able in 50 years to create the greatest empire the world has ever known. I'm here today to talk about Genghis Khan. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this man, but let's just give you an idea of exactly how incredible his feats were. From the 1150s when he was born to the 1220s when he died, in roughly 70 years, he created an empire that stretched from India to Western Russia. At a time when nothing moved faster than a horse and the blood on his sword. And there was a lot of blood on that sword. And how was he able to do this? Well, he was able to do this through three principles. He was tenacious, and he was inspirational, and he was wise. Tenacious. He had to unite the Mongol tribes in order to start his conquest. And that's roughly equivalent to getting Israel and Palestine to get along so they can go kick some Arabian butt. But his Arabia was China, the greatest civilization at that time. And after conquering China, Genghis Khan decided, you know what, that was kind of easy. Let's go conquer the rest of the known world. The only reason he stopped was because he died. The only army to ever stop Genghis Khan was a Saracen army in North Africa. Every other battle that he was in, he won. That's a pretty impressive track record. And it was part of the reason why he was inspirational to both his friends and his foes. See, he did this through two means, glory and fear. Glory for his friends, who when he conquered a city, town, nation, empire, he would give his men credit and say, I couldn't do this without you. It wasn't just him saying, I am so great, hear me roar. He acknowledged the subordinates and the greatness of the people under him. He would create monuments to his conquests and allow his men to point to those monuments and say, I was a part of that. I am a part of something great. Granted, those monuments were made of the heads of prisoners that he caught in his conquest, but the point remains, he gave them something to believe in, he gave them something to be a part of. He also inspired fear in his enemies. Because it's one thing to face an army led by a man you've never heard of. It's another thing entirely to face an army led by a man who you know is going to destroy you, and then destroy you and your wife and your children and your crops and the rest of your civilization for having the gall to stand up to him. And this is what Genghis Khan did throughout the known world. For instance, in Samarkand, which is a country in Middle Asia, or was, I should say, he sent an envoy asking for an alliance. And the men said, no, we won't be in alliance with you. In fact, we're going to send back the heads of your envoy just to prove how awesome we are. And Genghis Khan said, that's a bad idea. So he goes into Samarkand, and after destroying their capital, he raises a monument, a pyramid of heads of all those he has slain within the capital, to show just how bad of an idea standing up to Genghis Khan truly is. And after doing that, he decided, you know what? I'm not done. Let's divert an entire river through the hometown of the conquered ruler, just in case someone wanted to put a museum or a gift shop there in the future. But even that wasn't enough. Even then, he decided, you know what, I don't think my lesson has been taught quite severely enough, so I'm going to destroy entire swaths of this country to show just how stupid it is to stand up to Genghis Khan. Bloody? Certainly. Gruesome? Yes. Effective? Definitely. Entire towns, entire cities, entire nations would give up rather than face Genghis Khan because they knew that once they were defeated, and they would be defeated, they knew it was the end of their civilization as they knew it. Again, probably a little bloody, a little savage, but effective. And this brings me to my third quality, because we always hear about Genghis Khan's bloodthirstiness, his barbarism, the pure, cold evil that he embodied. But that's actually not true, because Genghis Khan, the reason that he was so good of a ruler and such a great conqueror was because he was wise. And his wisdom showed at a very early time. See, going back to uniting the Mongol tribes, again, it's like Israel and Palestine. These people have been warring for hundreds of years. But Genghis Khan had a vision, and that vision was of a united Mongolia. A united Mongolia where currently there was nothing but squabbling tribes expending their great warrior spirit on each other. And Genghis Khan understood that in order for Mongolia to be united, that warrior spirit would have to have an outlet. What was so great about Genghis Khan was he said, guys, instead of fighting with each other, why don't we fight with other people? And that was the key to his success, and that's what started Mongolia as a nation that we currently know it today. Because he united those tribes by giving them a common enemy. And this allowed them to both expend their warrior spirit, but also to solidify and unify a nation that had currently been filled with division and strife. The second thing he did was promote religious tolerance, which at the time was pretty unique in the world, considering that Muslims were not exactly known for religious tolerance, and the Christians were about to start the Crusades. Yet at the time, Genghis Khan, this bloodthirsty savage, understood that religious tolerance takes away a key component of subversion and divisive strife within a nation or an empire. Because when religions are treated poorly, their people tend to get rebellious and they start to cause problems. But in tolerating other religions and creating an empire where Jews and Christians and Muslims can all live in relative peace and harmony, Genghis Khan created an empire free from the problems that could have been caused by religious turmoil. And perhaps the most important, and indeed the greatest achievement that Genghis Khan did, even though he created an empire, was he universalized and systematized the writing system used in that empire. Because he understood that if you send orders from one part of an empire to another and they cannot be understood at their destination, then you may gain an empire, but you will not be able to keep it. So Genghis Khan said, we are going to universalize our writing system. And he got rid again of that miscommunication, of the problems that could have been caused by miscommunication. And in doing so, he took what could have been a source of discord and a source of strife and division and turned it into a source of prosperity and peace. So the Mongol people could focus on fighting those outside the empire rather than on fighting amongst themselves. So yes, Genghis Khan did kill 40 million people in the course of his conquest, which is roughly 1/10 of the population of the world at that time. But he did not do this because he was some bloodthirsty savage, because he had a god complex and a desire to be known as this great and powerful ruler. He did this because he was a wise, calculating leader who understood what it would take to unite the Mongol tribes. And what it took to unite the Mongol tribes was a common enemy. He had a vision of a united Mongolia that would then become a Mongol empire. And in order to achieve that, he did what was necessary. Again, bloody, yes, but not barbaric. He did it because he had a reason. He did it because he had a purpose. And I think that's something we can all learn from. It's one thing to be a conqueror. It's another thing to be a wise ruler. The difference between Alexander the Great's empire and Genghis Khan's empire, besides the fact that Genghis Khan's was roughly 3 times the size of Alexander the Great's, was that after Alexander the Great died, his empire fell into ruins almost immediately because his generals were fighting amongst themselves. Genghis Khan had the wisdom to set up a system so that after he died, his sons could take his place. And an empire that large, almost half of the known world. He conquered all of Eurasia. That's the largest continent in the world. He was able to create a system that would allow his sons to rule, and to rule well. And relative peace and harmony continued even after he died. And I think that's the mark of a true leader. Not whether you can lead men while you're alive, but whether you can lead men when you're in the ground, and your sons or your your sons or your children are carrying on your legacy. So let us remember Genghis Khan's bloodiness. Let us remember his savagery, because he was both. But let us remember Genghis Khan's wisdom, because that is why he was able to do what he did.